All right, welcome to the Erie Music History Podcast. I am Chip Shell, your host. And today, my guest is Denny Fabrizi. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, as some of you may know, a lot of you may know, Denny has been around the Erie scene for many years, as he just got done showing me a picture of himself when he was 7 years old. You're 75 today, right?
Yes, I am.
All right. Still playing out in Rubyport, playing this weekend, in fact. He's also in a brand new band with Mike Redicliffe coming out called Rewind that will be at our music night that we do at the JPT Center in April.
I believe
May?
so.
Yeah.
April.
All right. So let's get into Denny. Let's see. West 41st Street back in the day, right? Grew up there or no?
Yes, that's kind of where I started.
Yeah.
41st and Melrose. Went to Strong Vincent.
Phone number UN 67229. Is that right? Was that your kid's phone number back then?
I remember we used to have 5-digit phone numbers.
We got talking about you working at the phone company, right?
Yeah, right. I used to install 5-digit phone numbers in the old days.
UN was one of those.
UN 6.
Prefix?
Yeah, that was a South Exchange.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
That's cool. I prior to me, obviously, but you are a Strong Vincent Colonel?
I sure was.
Cool.
Graduated in 66.
All right. And so going back, you were 4 years old when you were a ring bearer in your Uncle Louie's wedding, right?
Oh, my.
You were, when you were 6, you attended Lynette Albert's birthday party at 1350 West 35th Street. Did you know that? Did you even remember that?
No. Lynette? Okay.
It is strange, the things that I can find out on the news in the newspaper. But yeah, it's people, they used to have the listing of this person had a birthday and these people attended, and Denny Fabrizi attended Lynette's birthday. So
did I have to bring an accordion?
I don't know, but you were 6. So did you have an accordion?
I actually started when I was 7.
Okay. All right. So this was, poor Lynette didn't get a chance to hear you play.
I don't remember that name, but
no?
I'll look it up.
So you were a stamp collector in addition to a just accordion player, or?
I started on the accordion, and then actually my sister played the piano and my brother played the guitar. So throughout the years, I kind of wanted to lean away from the accordion and get more into a keyboard kind of a thing.
Okay. Probably
in my 10th or 11th grade, my dad bought me the Vox organ, and that kind of changed a lot of things.
How big was that? And give people an idea.
It's like a Casio, about the size of a Casio.
Oh, okay.
Had black keys and drawbars like a Hammond.
Oh, all right.
But you sounded like Dave Clark 5. And
cool. Is that the type of stuff that you liked listening to back then?
When the Beatles first came out, all the guitar players were playing Beatles music, and that's kind of the direction. I'd sit down on that piano and try to replicate stuff, and I kind of leaned into that music after I got that organ and got into my first band. Actually, my first band was the accordion band, the Osiki accordion band.
Oh. I've seen pictures of that. There's
31 accordions, 1 bass and 1 drummer.
Wow.
We even tried out for the Ted Mack show one year.
Oh, wow. I was going to say, where did you play?
Nowhere.
Okay.
In the studio, at the studio where we took lessons, we'd all get together maybe once a week, and everybody would play old standards. I think that's kind of what we played.
Where was Osiki's then?
I started on 11th and Parade. It was maybe Harry Osiki, and then Tom and Ed were my teachers.
Okay.
Throughout the years, and they moved up to Peach Street. And there was also a store out at the Liberty Plaza. Right. I knew those guys too. So it was mostly the Osikis that I learned how to read music and play that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's either you were a Markham's guy, an Osiki's guy, or a Dick Bowling's guy, right? I mean, seems like most people were Markham's and Osikis as far as taking lessons, right? Or you took lessons from
Basil Ronzetti.
Right.
I moved on to him later on in years.
Right.
I took bass lessons for a short time.
Oh, really?
A short time.
Go back. What did you say? You have 3 siblings that play music too?
My brother and sister.
Okay. Right. Do they still play?
Actually, yeah.
Yeah?
She has a piano. He's got his guitar that he bought in the 60s. It's worth fortune now.
Sure.
But yeah, that got me into playing in bands, and I haven't stopped yet.
Do you still have that Vox?
No,
No. Do you wish you did?
I do.
Do you? Yeah.
I went down to Texas right after, when I was 19. I got into the Air Force. Everybody was going in the military, so I decided to go in the Air Force.
Okay.
And when I got down to Texas, I was playing in bands for 2 years down there. I had my father send me that Vox, and that's where I got rid of it for a Hammond and started playing in bands down there for a couple of years. I was in 2 or 3 different bands down there.
Were you in the service?
Yes, actually. I got out of work at 5 o'clock. I was kind of a base realtor at Brooks Air Force Base. And then I'd drive to the north side and play music.
Wow. Huh.
There were times we were playing 5 to 7 o'clock dinner music, would get lost for 2 hours and come back and play from 9:30 to 1:30 in the morning.
Okay.
In the same place.
Yeah, yeah. What type of music?
Well, it was it was standards when we had the sax and the clarinet player, but mostly Motown and just old rock and roll.
Okay.
I seem to remember Santana songs and just anything that sounded good.
Stuff on the radio that you
Anything
liked.
that sounded good,
Yeah.
we would do.
So what'd you say? You graduated from Vincent in '66, but you were in a awesome named band, the Avengers, back then. Like, how did that come to be?
That's when I got that Vox organ. They scooped me up and said, "Can you play Ventures music?" And I said, "Well, absolutely."
And this is Larry Kemmler, Ronnie Sutton, Dan Cervenka, and Bill Lunger. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And were they playing before? Like, did you join an already existing band?
I may have, because there were 2 versions of that band. I don't remember what version I was in.
Okay. All right.
But most of my bands were all a year and 2 year things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they didn't go real long. I was in that band for a year or 2, and then went on to one called Johnny D and the Electras.
Ooh. In the Electras, I like that name. I don't know that one.
That was Joe Sazoric, Mickey Schriefer, my brother Tom Fabrizi,
Okay.
Kenny Felix, and myself. We were also playing Wycos in Edinburgh, Gannon gigs,
Typical
stuff like that.
Did the Avengers do the same thing, like Wyco
Pretty much,
stuff?
Wyco, yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we did. Mhm.
Did those guys, or even the guys in Johnny D, go on to continue to play? Did you interact with them over the years in any other bands, or?
Not with those guys.
No.
I moved on to that's kind of when I went in the service, and I just kind of lost touch with everybody.
Yeah, right.
I was gone for almost 4 years.
So, 69, you go in the service, do you say?
No,
or?
68, I think it was. 67 or 8.
Okay, all right.
I played down in Texas for a couple of years, and then I got the Vietnam vacation for 1 year. So that kind of made everything disappear and forget about everything for a whole year.
Sure, right. Go back to 66, you're in the Avengers. I also found a note about you playing at the Warner in 1966 with Little's Dance-O-Rama. And
I believe so.
It was somehow billed as a jazz group. Do you remember actually? I mean, because they used the term jazz kind of, fluidly
I guess
back
they might
then.
have thought the Ventures were jazz.
Yeah, is that what it was?
It was mostly Ventures music, as much as I can recall.
What was Little's Dance-O-Rama? So that's Little's Dance Studio.
We probably just got hired to
Yep.
entertain people there
Right.
for that.
First time on the Warner stage, though, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Then
Johnny D and the Electras, we got onto the Rainbow Garden stage for that one.
that's-
that was a
this is-
really nice dance we did there.
Yeah, you're showing me some pictures here that I'll post with the episode. But first of all, you guys are all impeccably dressed.
We used to, in the old days, have uniforms.
Yeah. Look at that.
Shark skin jackets, sweaters, you name it.
Ooh, I always ask these types of questions like, where did you get this stuff? Did somebody's mom have to make them? Were there stores that you could go and buy this stuff? Was it at the Boston store you just went down there? Or don't remember.
Maybe our mothers had something to do with it.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I mean, you're all wearing
Same things. Yeah.
same thing
We
and
would
some
dress
thin
up.
ties. You're looking good. Now, in this one, you have the Vox,
The Vox organ.
right? Yeah. So that is pre your Hammond B3s.
Right. I got the Hammond B3 when I first got out of the service. I hooked up with Vinny Younger for a very short time. I did a one-night job with the Ink Spots.
Here in town?
It was actually the golf course out in Cambridge Springs.
Riverside?
Riverside, I think it was. Yeah,
They were playing out there.
They were playing out there. These guys called me. I lasted one night. I wasn't a real good reader, and they were throwing 10-page pieces of music at me. So
Okay.
I didn't make it to Saturday night with those guys.
They were doing
But it
like
was a lot of fun.
They were doing a weekend there,
Right,
the Ink Spots.
right.
That's cool, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was a one-time thing there, and then the Cows happened. About '74, I think, is when the Cows
Yeah.
started.
That's crazy. So
Getting around.
if you've listened to the podcast, I've had a lot of members of the Cows on, at least Dickie Buckle and Ronnie Guzik. Bob Berger has been on too. Grutt has not been on. Grutt was in the band.
Dave Grutt?
Dave Grutt, when you joined, right?
Yes.
So it's you, Dickie, Bob, Dave Grutt, and
Billy Arnold.
one of the best guitar players.
Those guys were fabulous out
Yeah.
there.
And this was a later evolution or version of the Cows
Right.
from
The Ronnie Guzik and Dennis Guzik were just before
Right.
that. They had probably gone to California at that time, and that's when they brought me in, and
So Angelo had left as drummer also.
I think so.
Yeah, because he was the original drummer. So, okay. All right. So how does that go? You're in the Cows. It's a super popular band back then. You're wearing some crazy flowered outfits.
I know it. We were very popular.
Yeah.
Every place we played, I mean, on Wednesday and Thursday nights, were packed.
Where were you playing back then?
Aristocrat Lounge, Lombardo's. Sunday nights we'd pack up and go to the surf club.
Oh, up in Bemis.
Right.
Okay.
So there were 4 and 5 nights a week.
Aristocrat, so that was in the basement of the Commerce Building.
Right, 12th Street.
And was that, did you say it was during the week? Like,
Well, they would book jobs like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
oh, okay. So,
For a month.
yeah.
And we wouldn't have to move equipment for a whole month.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
we would play jobs like that, and it got me into trouble at work a few times. I was falling asleep at work.
Because you're getting done at,
I'm trying to work a 40-hour-a-week job and playing like that. It was very difficult.
were these 10 to 2 gigs or were they later?
1:30 to 9:30 to 1:30, or 10 to 2,
Okay.
pretty much. And then we'd go to Dominic's at 3
Sure.
o'clock in the morning and have a big dinner.
Almost across the street. I mean, right down the road. Yeah, yeah. When I had Bob Berger on, I was talking to him about this. I found this really weird note in the newspaper about this version of the Cows, and it talked about you guys went to the Niagara Falls Convention Center to film additional footage for a movie called The Mahjong Conspiracy that never got made. And it said you also filmed some footage at the Erie County Fieldhouse. Do you remember any of that?
I do. We played Cows music for some entertainment, and then they had a somewhat of a show where we learned, I can remember one song, we learned The Impossible Dream, and this fella came out in a wheelchair with no legs. And it was kind of a karate show, and
Yeah,
he
right.
jumped off the wheelchair and busted 10 bricks with his fist
All
while
right.
we were playing the song. So he was
So you,
conveying a message to the crowd like that. And
Right.
it was I can remember that. It was kind of fun.
that's kind of hard to forget.
Kind of hard to forget.
But you went to Niagara Falls to do that.
We did. We were in some kind of a big convention center or something.
Right.
They had a big karate demonstration type thing going
I
on.
wonder how you guys even got involved with that.
I don't remember. Those
Yeah.
guys found some great jobs, and I just followed them everywhere they went.
Good. So, how long did you play with them?
Well, it was a motorcycle that got me out of that band.
Oh,
I was on my way home one Friday night, and I flipped my bike. Called Dickie from the hospital, and I says, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it tonight.
Oh,
And that was that. Chuck Leone took over from that night on. I was in the hospital for a month.
how bad?
I fractured my hip,
Okay.
both sides of my hip, so
All right.
I was flat on my back for almost a whole month in the hospital.
Wow. And today, any residual stuff from it? No?
Not really.
No.
My job's kept me healthy.
Okay.
Climbing telephone poles for all those years.
That's what you were doing back then for
I was
GTE
worked for
Ver-
GTE and
yeah.
Verizon.
Okay. And at the time, were you married? 79, maybe you got?
No, I didn't get married until I don't remember when that was. 87, I think it was. It was 87.
Okay.
I started raising children, and
That's what I wondered, yeah.
hung up the keyboards for quite a while. I didn't see them for a long time. Raised 4 children.
Wow.
Then got a divorce. Moved out and probably started playing again.
Okay, after all that. So you had stopped playing for a while.
I did.
Yeah.
I was out of it for quite a while.
It's interesting. Do you remember how we met? I hate to be the Jack Stevenson. If you ever listen to Jack's podcast, he always does this. How did you meet Jack? And, do you remember when you and I met first? It was just recently.
At the JF. Up at the bingo place?
No, we met at the Elks Club. I was playing a gig there.
Oh, I do remember that.
And you came up and, introduced yourself. And when you said your name, I'm like, I know who you are. You played in Ruby Port, and that's a band you haven't even talked about yet. Did you play? You played with them way back in the day, right?
No, I wasn't in the original make of that.
Okay.
They got together in 2009 or 2010, I think it was, when they remade it.
Paul kind
put
of
it back together.
Yeah,
Paul
right.
grabbed. I think he had Steve McConnell, and Chuck Leone was actually even in the band at the first part of this. And I don't know what happened where he had left, and they had asked me to join, and I says, well, boy, that's great.
Was that the first thing you did when you kind of came back into playing, or had you played?
No, actually, I did a short thing. I was in a band after the service with Brotherhood. It was another Mike Radcliffe band.
Oh.
I failed to mention that. That was Mike's brother, Mel, and John Knox was in that band.
What was it called?
Brotherhood.
Brotherhood. Okay.
We did a year or two back in the 70s. I was also in a band. This was right after the Cows. I sat in with Junie Shank and the Solid Gold one summer. They played rock music, the oldies, at the Surf Club.
And were they local or from?
Those guys
up there?
owned the Surf Club. They had a band.
Jimmy Shank.
I think one or two of them. They owned the Surf Club in those days.
Okay.
Those guys had a band called Junie Shank and the Solid Gold, and they lost their piano man for a summer. And I went up there on Sunday and Monday nights and played old rock music with those guys.
Wow, like 50s stuff.
Yeah. All summer long. That's all I did. That's all I wanted to hear was this rock and roll stuff. So I did that with those guys for the whole summer, and that was great. Then I probably had a band. Another one with Mike Radcliffe was called 89 North.
Oh, I think I've heard of that.
We were.
When was that?
That was Bill Kirby, Mike, and Tom Snook, and Bruce Biley, and Bernie and Barb DiNardo.
Wow.
We went about 2 years with that band, and they were very well liked. We did some great stuff.
Did that evolve into Lake Effect?
Actually,
Or-
it did.
Okay.
It did. That's where Lake Effects kind of started their thing.
Right.
In between there, I was in one other band for 1 year.
All right.
And that was the Sam Hyman band.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I enjoyed that for about a year and a half.
Who was in the band then? Mike Miller?
Mike Miller and my cousin Mark Clement.
Mark Clements. Okay.
And
Why do I know?
myself and
That's not Frank related.
no, Mark,
related to
Mark
Frank.
played with congas, and it was pretty much just the drummer for.
Okay.
We had a 4-piece, and we did about a year of playing around, in different places, Peak and Peak, Yacht Club, stuff like that.
Yeah. That must have been
And
a fun
then
band
during
to
the
be
summers, he was always in some sort of a gazebo doing concerts for people. So
Right.
I enjoyed that.
in. Not a bad gig at all.
That
yeah.
was a great gig. I enjoyed everything I did with Sam and the band. They were a lot of fun.
When you played with Mike Redcliffe in Brotherhood, what type of music was it? Kind of similar to what you're doing now in Rewind?
No.
Oh.
What we're doing in Rewind now is very difficult stuff. I'm having to consult chord books.
Uh-oh. All right.
In my elderly age, I'm trying to relearn how to read music because Sheldon Peterson is giving me homework and stuff.
Right. I mean, you've got a
I love
really
it.
group
I love
of
it.
talented guys in that band.
I'm really
yeah.
trying hard to get this Steely Dan type stuff down pat.
Yeah. The one video that I saw at practice was what? What song was that? I can't remember what it was. I still have it. It's great.
Green-Eyed Lady.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
We had that in Rubyport in the earlier days, but we kind of dropped it.
Okay.
Rubyport's starting to wanting to learn some new music now. They've booked some jobs this year, so they're going to continue. I might as well say that I'm in two bands again.
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, at 75, you're in two bands. I had Harry Parker in here a few weeks ago. At 72, he's in three bands. He does a duo with his wife. He's in Acoustic Ear Candy, and now he plays in the Buried Treasure Band.
Those guys are great.
Yeah. I mean, it's awesome that you're still playing. And so you mentioned, the days of hauling a B3 up the stairs at the King's Rook, or
that was difficult.
What were those bands? Was it the Cows?
The Cows band. We used to haul that Hammond around.
Okay.
Yeah, boy, that was terrible. I had a piano that was equally as heavy that I carried around too. It was a little. It had a board in it and everything, strings and.
Oh, okay, like a synthesizer type of thing. Or?
No, it was just a piano.
Oh,
it was an actual string piano.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Right. I see.
I think it was a Baldwin. I don't remember if that was a Baldwin or what, but I used to haul that thing around, and that was to the left, and the other one was to the right.
You were never like Chuck Leone with seven of them.
No, not seven
or whatever.
No. Well, with Lake Effect, they were doing a lot of stuff that I needed three keyboards at, so I would. I hauled three around for that.
Yeah, so Lake Effect, you've got Debbie O in that band, right?
We had a variety of gals pass through that band. Debbie O.
Gabe Shields.
Gabe Carr. Angie Myers.
Oh, Angie Myers was in that band too.
Yeah.
All right.
We had...
Tom Stokes just sang.
Sue Higbee was our first original singer.
And was Pat Ross?
Jesse was even in that band.
Oh, Jesse was in that band too.
That's right. Yeah, we had a lot of different gals pass through Lake Effect, and then different guitar players too. So.
Okay.
We.
You had Mark Krasinski, I know.
Mark Krasinski, Tony Farrar was the first.
Oh, that's right. I had Tony on the podcast.
And Danny Canfield was the drummer. So we had different versions of Lake Effect. I was probably in that band 10 or 12 years. Maybe,
really?
Maybe longer. I don't remember exactly how many years. But
was that the longest tenured band you've been in?
It's getting to be Rubyport now.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been together for 15, I think, now.
The newer version.
The new version of them. So they're carrying on.
Yeah. And so you brought great notes. And you said to me, I've only played in how many bands? 14 or
12? I guess
12
you could
bands?
say 12.
I mean, there was some on there that I didn't know about. I mean, and some of them have awesome names like Jimmy Shank and the Solid Gold. What else? I mean, I keep going back to that Brotherhood band because you said it was just for a year.
Most of these bands were all year bands.
Is that what it was?
I might have missed one called The Touch that I was in with Scott Campbell and Dave Shantz at one time.
Wow.
We had a band that was very loud.
Well, Scott was in the band. I've been in a band with Scott. Yeah, I know how it is.
Oh, yeah, we had fun.
He's great.
In that band.
And correct me if Scott is not your cousin, but you have a cousin named Scott Campbell?
Oh, yes, I do. Uh-huh.
Okay.
I'm related to the Campbells.
So the Scott Campbell.
Not Scott, no.
A different one. All right.
Right, not that Scott.
Because I found a picture from 1964. You were a photographer. back in the day.
I was the spokesman photographer for high school.
Yeah.
I used to take all the sports pictures for the yearbooks.
Yeah, and you won a Times News snapshot photo contest with a small boy in a baseball cap and glove, and that was your cousin Scott Campbell.
That was my cousin Scott Campbell.
Yeah, and when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, this can't be the same Scott Campbell, but obviously it's not. But still take photos, or?
Yeah, with these new phones, they're amazing.
Yeah.
We go to the peninsula and take pictures of deer and turkeys.
Cool. Yeah, yeah. So over the years, I like to always ask this question. I know it's a boring one, but you mentioned places like the Aristocrat, lounge and things like that. Is there a place that you really missed, that you loved playing, that's no longer around? Like I have some favorites of mine that are no longer around, and
Well, that's a good one. I loved those days we did the surf club.
Yeah.
But
because it was packed.
Chatterbox.
Chatterbox on Peninsula Drive, right?
Could get a non-alcoholic drink and listen to a 15-year-old band.
Were you playing there when you were that young?
I did. In one of these bands, we played at places like that. My brothers, I had tagged around with my brother's bands a few times, just sitting in.
What were those?
Geez, he had a couple of different. He was working with Jimmy Moore and Feinstein at one time.
Mark Feinstein.
Feinstein.
Yeah.
Jimmy Moore was the Erie's Elvis. I actually practiced with him last year.
Oh, yeah?
And learned about 30 songs with him, and just for practice to play Elvis music. And
he's still around? Still plays?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's not active at it anymore, but
okay.
We did practice over the last few years and learned some music together.
All right. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Chatterbox. How about like Hullabaloo? Did you ever play there? Or?
Hullabaloo? Don't remember that
no?
one. Wyco's, though. I mean,
Wyco's
were fun. Those
both downtown and
I think
Glenwood?
I probably played at both of them. They used to do it on the roof up there on
right.
38th Street.
Right.
Yeah.
And explain that to me. Other people have. Was it like, were there two levels of a band that you could, like if you were really good, you would play on one level, or the other ones were, is that how it worked? Like, were there tiered, or you don't remember?
No, I don't.
No. I thought there was like, if you were okay, you played on this floor, and if you were really good, you played on this floor. I could be wrong. I'm not sure.
Well, I don't remember
but how
any battles of the band type things that went on. There might have been some.
School dances, things like that?
School dances, yeah, we did some of that stuff.
When you were with the Cows, was it just in Erie? Did you guys travel?
I think we played at the Cowshed once or twice.
Sure.
That's where they originally came up with that name, I believe. But
right.
I may have been out there with them once or twice. They kind of traveled around to mostly clubs in Erie, but Surf Club was about the only place.
Where was the Cowshed? I apologize.
I think Cowshed, was that out south of Girard or
in Ohio? I'm not sure. Yeah, I've been told that story plenty of times by Denny and or from Dickie and Ronnie, but
I think it had a name before that.
Okay,
it's a restaurant now. Maybe
it's
it might
still
be
around.
A restaurant.
Interesting.
A restaurant now. I'll have to do some checking on that.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's been a few years since you played.
Those guys played there quite often, but
yeah.
I may have only been there once or twice with them.
Did you ever play like the rock clubs like Sherlock's or the Beer Mug or places that aren't around anymore? Or?
No, actually, before Sherlock's was Sherlock's, that's where Vinny Frazzini was trying to throw a band together at one time, and I practiced for a little while with those guys, and it went nowhere. But
okay, you played with him at one gig or something like that? Did you say?
That's
or?
about it. Probably one. We might have played at Anthony's one night or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There was a club about half a block away called Anthony's. I think that was down there.
Right.
And right around the corner from that was the Pilot House. That's probably the first place I ever went into. I wasn't even 21 yet. And
was that the first place you played?
I sat in with my uncle's band there.
Which was
Dick Abbey and might have been Dick Bowling. I don't know. Could have been.
How old were you?
Me?
Yeah.
I was only 16 when I got into that place. I wanted to hear my uncle play,
Yeah.
and he got me in there to listen to him for a little, and I think I went up there and played Watermelon Man with those guys. I might have done something like that.
Okay, all right.
Something simple like Watermelon Man.
And the Pilot House was where, is that on the square?
Now, that was on State Street, I think.
On State Street?
It was just a little bar down on State Street.
Yep.
I remember going in there to hear, back in the day, this Eddie C and the Bees were really, really good. And I was trying to get into a band like this. So
Yeah.
I would go to hear these guys whenever I could. And I wasn't 21 yet. They were playing in places like that. And what was that? The Spot?
Yeah, the Spot.
The Spot Cafe.
Yeah. Right.
I got in there once. Things like that before I was 21. I mean, I
Yeah.
grab an ice water and go sit and listen to the band.
Yeah, I often hear stories. I think Harry even told me a story where he's like 15 or 16 and he's playing at a place and they said, well, you have to have someone who's like your guardian or whatever to be there. And I've interviewed plenty of guys who were playing way underage and didn't have these guardian, or they'd hide in the kitchen until it was time to play, or they'd come in the back door and, and I think he was talking about, he talked about, what was the place behind by Waldemere, the Village?
Oh, the Village.
Village.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And they got raided one night. Somebody had stabbed somebody, and he had to bust out the back door so the cops didn't catch him and hide out in the van. But a lot of guys have talked about playing the Village. Had you ever been there? Or
I think I did play there once.
Yeah.
I don't remember which one of these bands. We had one underage person in a band at one time, Jay Lewis.
Oh.
I think we had Jay Lewis in the band, and his mother would have to come to the jobs with him.
Sure, yeah.
So we did a few jobs like that.
Yep. Yeah, I've had plenty of guys tell me, well, I had to transport my drums or amp in my parents' station wagon that they drove me there, and then they'd wait, and back in the day. So supportive parents, obviously. And obviously yours supported music.
My parents supported us a lot, yeah. I think I probably didn't pay for that Vox organ.
But you had an uncle who was a musician too, right?
A couple of uncles, yeah.
Well, that must have helped. Were they keyboard players too?
My cousin was a drummer in Las Vegas for a long time, Jerry D-Dad.
Okay.
He did that for quite a while. Other than that, not a whole lot, just brother and sister.
Yeah.
They,
runs in the family, though, obviously, still, yeah. Music does.
We were a musical family, right?
Yeah.
We had a piano there, and anytime I had a chance to get on a piano, it was a lot of fun.
Had you ever, you're in Ruby Port now, one of the bands that's been around for a long time in different incarnations, like we said. I've had Paula Holmes on, I've had Paul Yocklin Jr. on. Did you ever see the original version of them?
Actually, I was working for Verizon in those old days, and I got sent into the Kelly Club one night about 10 o'clock at night because they had one phone in there, and it was jammed. Nobody had phones in their pockets.
Yeah, right.
So my company sent me in there to unjam the payphone. Those guys were playing. I got a chance to listen for a few minutes, and I unjammed the payphone, and Mr. Ciotti gave me a bottle of whiskey under my coat and said, "Have a nice Christmas." And I walked out the door.
Who was playing keys? Goodwin back or
Actually, I think it was wasn't Pete's brother the key, or was it?
Pete's brother was the drummer.
It might have been Nick Nardo.
I'm sorry, Nick Nardo.
It might have been Nick
that's right.
Nardo.
Yeah,
Could have
you're
been.
right.
I had gotten in there a few times to listen to those guys, but they played till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And it was always packed in there, so
Sure.
packed.
Yeah. And so obviously when the call came to join them later, who was it? Paul called you?
I don't remember that one. Could have been Dickie Buckles, kind of the band guru.
Gotcha.
In this band,
Right.
So it
Right.
may have been Richard.
I see. Does anybody call him Richard?
I do.
Yeah.
I golf with him. I still call him Richard.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, hopefully I'm going to see you and Richard in the band this
Great.
Friday.
This Friday.
Did we miss anything?
Not that I know of.
No? That was a lot to cover.
I was.
Yeah.
I was for how a lot of the people that I have listened to on your podcasts are full-time musicians, and they have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're playing in 2 bands. I mean, you're 75
I didn't think
years
I
old.
would have a lot to talk about because I worked for a company all my life.
Yeah.
And this was just kind of a hobby for me, but
There's been plenty of guys that I've had on, and women, who have been in the same situation, and that's always one of the struggles that they talk about. That's why I ask you about raising the family. You know, some had full-time jobs, some had families, and balancing that out has got to be super hard, especially if you're in a band where they say, let's go on the road, you know, and I've had some of those folks. You never had to do that. You never went on the road other than playing while you were in the Air Force in Texas.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
no, never had to deal with that road stuff.
Was that country you were playing back then?
In Texas?
Yeah.
No,
What was
they were pretty much Motown and
Okay.
standards. During the happy hours, we did a lot of standard stuff because we had a clarinet player and
Oh,
a
that's
sax,
right.
so we did a lot. And I had a Hammond, so we would play a lot of just background stuff.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
And then later on, it got into dance music, and whatever was popular back then.
Right.
I kind of forget a lot of what I used to play, but
You got to relearn the stuff that you used to play.
I am
Yeah.
trying to get better at. Well, since I'm retired now, that's all I have to do is sit home and practice. So.
And golf.
And golf.
That's right. Well, I appreciate you taking out the time today to come in and talk to me. I'll take some pictures of these, pictures that you sent me, and then I'll post those with your episode.
Great.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of the Erie Music History Podcast. I want to say thanks to the JPT Foundation. They have been a financial supporter of the podcast since the beginning, and they also give us a free space to have our monthly music night on the first Tuesday of the month. It always features our great house band, the Fabulous Leftovers, as well as a lot of other local bands and musicians. But it's a lot of fun. First Tuesday of the month, totally free. Any donations go to the Second Harvest Food Bank. It is BYOB. You can bring in alcohol, drinks, whatever you'd like. There's a great pizza shop next door, Pasalinqua's. There's a Subway in the plaza, so check that out the first Tuesday of the month. Also, make sure that you check out Jack Stevenson's 2-Man Happy Hour podcast. Basically tells you where people are playing today, where and when, and you can check that out at the number2manhappyhour.com. Check that out. All right, that's all I got for you. Thanks again for listening.